Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you for taking some time today. This is the third iteration of the Learn and Lead. I just want to take a quick second, and for those that were on or whoever maybe missed the first two, we quickly we first initiated with why, what talking about your why and why that's important, and just something to think about for those on the phone and on that I can see and that I can't see. One of the things we talked about from the why is to really give some deep thought to this as to why your organization exists. I don't care if you're a nonprofit or a business. Remember, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And I think it's important when you think of a why, and this is kind of really the summation of the first session, um, that it's important to articulate crisply uh, why you exist and why you do what you do, because people will resonate with that. Remember, if you just tell people facts and features about what you do, there's a little interest to resonate with that. When they understand why you do what you do, they align with that. And there's statistics out there that talk about how people are very, very interested in doing business with people that do things for a greater cause or for a bigger reason. And we think that's like an important thing to think about. So a little homework, if you've not like polished up your why, you should do that, right? Remember again, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The second session we had were tools to support fundraising, right? So we talked about, obviously I've never yet to meet a nonprofit, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Joy or anyone else here with a nonprofit. I've never found one that said, I'm so flush with cash, I don't need to do a fundraiser. I've found everyone has a cash starved function or something they need, a nonprofit or a business of something to get there. And so what we talked about in the second tools to support your fundraising activity, James Golden was on there with Jen as well too. And we talked about things and ways to meet, plan, articulate, and tools that would help you with fundraising activities and how to do it and how to challenge your board members. I mean, the last thing as a nonprofit you want is all your board members to show up, whatever frequency it is, monthly, quarterly, or semi-annually, to show up at your meeting room and then do nothing or other give their opinion and leave. These members are here on your board for a reason, and they should be given homework. They should be given tasks. They should be giving fundraising goals. They should be plugged into the organization, not just sit there to listen and to pontificate and then leave until the next meeting. They need to have work to do when they leave. So I think if you're running a board, I think it's very, very important. Or if you're a board member, I guess what I would encourage everyone is to not sit on your hands. There's a reason you're there, or if you're not there for a reason, get off and get somebody else a chance to get on there that wants to get into this thing. So I think it's pretty important from the fundraising. But we talked about tools and how to do that. Joe talked about a lot of the technology that was there, as did Jen, to kind of help with fundraising. But the whole point is be super organized, assign homework, get board members to work for you, and look outside of your board. There might be some community members that are meaningful and in the community with some stature that might help and support your fundraising activity. So they can certainly give you a outside view. We can tend to, if we're not careful, and I encourage everyone not to put the blinders on. It's one thing to say, it's my organization, this is all I see, this is all I want to do, I can't do anything else but what I see. You want to be open to other ideas, and that's why I think it's very important to have maybe external committee members as part of your committees, or maybe they're a board member. If you're doing fundraising in particular, you get an outside asset that comes in and gives you some perspective that gives you a broader approach and look-see into what you want to try to do. So those were quickly just kind of a review. Is anybody questions of any of that or thoughts? I mean, here's James is on here, Jennifer's on here. If there's any questions about the technology or any things we just talked about from the last two, any questions from anybody?
Well, I do want to interject just a moment and
sure,
just
please.
recap.
And James too, for you as well.
We have Larry Larry Sells from Larry Sells Consulting speaking.
Oh, I
in case
guess I
anybody
should
doesn't
have.
know. Jen Triplett from Tree Branch Group, Denise Hightower from Tree Branch Group, and Larry referenced James Golden from Golden IT Consultant. All of the previous sessions have been recorded, and I have placed them on a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to get them more visible on our website so they can kind of look back. We also have last year's, if you remember correctly, the pandemic and the crisis. There's some really good content there too. If there's a rainy day, you just want to listen to them. Again, my name is Jen Triplett from Tree Branch Group, and we are going to be talking today about video testimonials, some of the software and strategies to put them in place. And this is a free open discussion. If anybody has questions, wants to share their challenges, their successes. So I'm going to hand the floor back over to Larry Sells.
Well, thank you for cleaning up my broken glass. So I appreciate that, Jen. And then James, I'd be remiss not to say, any thoughts on the tools or any from the perspective we just talked about that you'd want to add? You're welcome to do so.
Yeah, not at the moment. I mean, obviously, if anybody has questions, and
All right. Well, James is a great resource, as is Jen. So again, I appreciate everybody being over there. Okay. Well, let's dive into testimonials today, and we want to talk a little bit about that. I've looked at organizations, some nonprofits, some that are on here, some that are not. And one of the things about testimonials that I want people to remember, and there's a piece that I want to read to you from Robert Cialdini. It's called "The Art of Persuasion is a Science That Everyone Has the Ability to Improve Upon." An important principle of persuasion is, and here's the big two words in quotes, social proof, right? Social proof. That people, when faced with a choice, or if they're not sure about something, it's psychology. They look around them for guidance, consciously or not, and so thus enter testimonials and why they're important. It kind of helps people that are maybe lost, unsure, uncertain. They're a way for people to guide them, and people respect the opinion of others. And we'll get into some of the technologies of this in a second. I'd just like to take a quick poll here, in terms of the attendees here today in your organizations. I don't care whether you're a business or a nonprofit, and it's hard to see with the ones that are not live, but just interested how many people utilize on their websites or social media testimonial, whether it's videos or whatever. How many people do that? I'm just very interested by just a show of hands. James does. I get it. I've seen Joy does, I know, in some of hers. But anybody else? I mean, the testimonials. It's interesting to me. I mean, Liz from the chamber, I know you do videos, and that's important stuff. What I would say is, what my quick down and dirty back of the envelope research showed was that few do it, right? But it's too powerful of a tool not to do it. And I think it's important. And I think there's things that we need to look at. So testimonials, video and written, need to be part of your strategy. And if they're not, this is something that needs to get buttoned into what you do. Because again, if we go back to Robert Cialdini, he talks about the social proof. It's important that we demonstrate that in some manner, so people certainly understand that. So let's talk about those for a minute in terms of testimonials and video in particular. Why are these powerful, right? Well, they're right in your face and real, and they are talking about an experience that they had with the organization or the business. And it's a firsthand account. They are honest in their assessment. And let's face it, they have to be favorable or somebody probably won't use them. However, the honest approach to this thing is someone coming up with a response to your service or your management or your organization in total is powerful to others when they're looking certainly searching for your organization or business that they want to do business with. It's just a very, very handy, helpful thing to have. Some strategy behind it. If you can get some high profile people that are either clients or part of your nonprofit or have name recognition, that certainly extends your brand and gives it some validity and further underscores the importance of your organization by having notable people that are saying something good about your company or your nonprofit. And if that doesn't exist today in your organization, I'm going to suggest very strongly that that becomes a regular thing that you do as part of your organization and part of your operation. I think it's important when you're looking at testimonials, it's from maybe several areas. So maybe it's somebody that's helping with a fundraiser, or maybe it's someone that has received benefit of your services, right? I think those kind of things you need to take a look at, or maybe it's just could be a chamber member, could be a Liz League or something like that, even that gets involved in, again, notoriety. It just kind of underscores and again, it gives some credence to you as a company, your organization, what you want to try to do. I think if you're, again, as I mentioned, nonprofit is not doing this or business is not doing this, because this isn't just for a nonprofit. This is for anybody and everybody. It's an important component to have in there. Couple other things, and we'll take a couple of questions, just kind of check in with everybody here. I think you have to keep them simple, and videos can't drone on, because the attention span of most people is short, right? If you have a few seconds to garner their attention, or they're gone. If there's a little bit of interest, or it's somebody they know, or it's somebody of prominence or whatever, or it's a topic that's interesting, or it's something that happened that's intriguing, they will listen, but they're not going to listen more than a couple of minutes. So any of these testimonies have to say, I say, need to go through what I call the Larry 3 Bs. Be brief, be bright, and be gone, right? It has to do those things to keep the attention level of the people. And if you have multiple of these, you don't want to have somebody click in and go through 4 or 5 testimonies and they're going to be on your website for an hour. They're not going to do it. So a couple of minutes is important to do that. I guess the thing that I would also say to you is I would script the questions that you want to ask so that they're comfortable with what's going on. For example, tell about your experience. They need to have some sort of a structure, and you can guide the structure and the way it needs to go. But I think it's important that you provide some framework for them to work from, or otherwise it could be freewheeling and maybe something that gets you off topic or out of the area that you're interested to make sure they're talking about. They may have had a great experience with your organization or company. You want them to make sure they focus on that and not something else. So I think it's important to kind of have a discussion with them, or script a couple of questions so that they're comfortable and they get it. And most people, when you do, they go, yep, I got it. And then they're on their own. And I'll tell you what, it's a good thing to do, and you'll see it work. And it's just a favorable experience that you'll see come out of it, to have those scripted in advance.
So Larry,
Questions? Yes, Jen.
with that in mind, what about structuring your video testimonials through a specific campaign or mission? Like throughout the year, you have different fundraising events, things like that. So maybe scheduling specific testimonials to guide that message.
Without a doubt. And I think that goes back to, you want several areas. And that's kind of, I guess, what I alluded to poorly, is that you want to get testimonials for several areas of your business, right? Or of your organization. So whether it's the fundraising part or whether it's the programmatics part of it, it's important that the people are dialed into those things and kind of understand that.
You didn't do a poor job, because actually when you said that was a light bulb that went off in my head. So
no, well, again, if I did make that clear, apologies. But I think, look at testimonials, right? So this, your business is a fundamental business. It's built on a why. You do something, as we talked about earlier, but it's important to recognize these are building blocks that further solidify your foundation, right? These are people that have used your services. Don't discount the power of the video testimony. Do not. it's powerful stuff. And if you don't use it, I'm just going to be blunt. You're kind of missing the boat here. It's an important component to weave into your website, that people see you in that way. It needs to be structured as such on your website or social media where people can readily see it, because you don't want them hunting for testimonials. You want them to see it as a billboard, something they can click on a homepage to get accessibility to it right away. I mean, Jen, jump in here too, or James.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, one of the challenges that we have is not everybody wants to be on video or seen, or they're self-conscious about how they look on video. So you do have to be aware of either providing, some kind of option where there's sort of low lighting, or that they look good, or have it outside in a casual setting, because people are self-conscious about that, and they know it's going to be out there in the public.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I think board members are critical here too, right? So we all have board members, right? It's one thing that you are the person that is involved, but I can tell you some commercial companies like branding their employees in these as well too. So that's something I want you to think about as well too. It's one thing you're the head of the company or head of the organization, but it's another thing to incorporate more people where you're kind of branding them into the operation. I think it's something that you should consider and think about greatly as we go through this thing.
Looks like Sharon has a question.
Sharon, sure.
With hands up.
Oh, yeah. I see it. Nice.
Got me thinking here. I'm here representing my nonprofit, which is Crofton First Incorporated. Yep. And our big fundraiser that we usually do are yard sales. We usually do one in the fall, one in the summer, or spring, fall and spring. And of course, because of the pandemic, we haven't been able to do that, but we are planning to do one this summer. And we are celebrating 15 years of existence. So I was going to kind of try to tout it as our big 15-year, fundraiser, yard sale, that kind of thing. We rent space for people if they want to bring a table and sell their own stuff, and then they pay us for that space, and then they keep the profits. Or we collect donations from the community, and then we sell those items and we keep all the profits from that. But anyway, now you've got me thinking, maybe I could have someone with a camera at the yard sale. And we have some just regular people who have supported us from day one, who always show up to our events. It's always the same group of people, right? So I wonder if I could have, like, my husband with, he's that's what he does for a living, is audiovisual work. I could have him or one of his employees there and interview people. But how do I go about doing that without bombarding the shoppers, making them feel like, what, I can't just go to a yard sale without a camera in my face? Like, yeah, I'm just trying to, because you guys are giving me some good ideas.
So that's so great question, Sharon. And so, like, how do you get the people, right? Well, you kind of know, you have a gut instinct, right, who would do it for you. You already know that, right?
Yeah.
You know that. So those people be comfortable. So I talk about this a little bit later. I think it's important that there's an ask of them, that they know, hey, I'd like to incorporate you into, and I think it goes something like this. Hey, look, we've got this big event. It's our 15-year anniversary. We would like to promote this event in advance, which I suggest you do, right? In advance, it's coming. So tell them what's coming, right? And you get their approval and say, look, I'm going to use this and we're going to put it on our website. We're going to promote this on social media. Are you cool with that, right? Now, you could get formal and do written stuff or whatever. I don't think, if you know the people, you don't need that, right?
Right.
What I'm talking about is simple stuff. Now, I want to kind of go back to this, and I'm going to bring Jen and James into this too. So, like, it doesn't have to be hard, and you don't need like Channel 11 to come in and do the video for you, right?
Right.
If your husband can shoot the video, and Jen and I talked about this yesterday, or you take video with an iPhone, which is today, the telephones are fantastic, right? That's one thing. But let me tell you, you can get all that footage. My strong suggestion is getting somebody like a Jen or whatever, a technology company. Don't try to do it yourself. If you try to do a self-edit, you don't want to defeat yourself from a great purpose of what you're trying to do. So get it professionally done. You might be able to take it and get the footage, but give it to somebody to do it right and get it set up on your website right. And that takes a professional company like a Tree Branch or whatever to make that happen. But does that help a little?
Yeah, because we're not a very formal group. And so I could see people being like, why is she having me sign a paper? Yeah. So I was just trying to think like ahead of time.
Right?
Ahead of time, I could reach out to some people and maybe get some bigger names to come as well. Yeah.
Well, one of the things I would say is like, it kind of goes back to know your business, know thy audience, right?
Yeah.
You know who's going to do it right now. You know who would do that for you. So reach out and get a pre-ask in and get ready and then schedule. And I'll tell you, the biggest issue that you will have is not doing it. The biggest issue you'll have is coordinating the damn schedule to get it done, right?
Yeah, right.
Finding the time for somebody to do that. But I highly suggest you promote it in advance.
Yeah.
And then there could be one during, and then maybe you do something after, like a thank you kind of thing. So think it in those kind of steps. Jen, anything else?
Yeah, just going back to it's totally fine to take like an iPhone, or even my Android is awesome. I have like the Note 20. But what we can do is you can go ahead and publish that out to social media and such, but we can actually take the elements and tell the story. We recently did something similar to that for St. Francis and Potomac Episcopal Church, where they didn't have any fresh video except for the testimonials that we recorded at their site. So we basically took everything and created a 5 to 6 minute video with transitions, a background sound, animation, things like that, that really illustrated the entire story. So we can take the snippets of your story and make a larger, more comprehensive story. Or
right.
lack of.
And I think that's a great point. I think there's different photos maybe you could use. I'm going to suggest, if I can, because I'm involved with it, but if you want an example of what I think is some good testimonials, right? It's a business. It is Landmark Roofing. So I'd ask you to go to Landmark Roofing, to their website, and take a look at testimonials and look at the customer spotlights, we call them. And these are these small things that we're doing that are honest and real, and people talk about their experience. You could emulate something like that. But if you want to look at something that like, hey, here's kind of what we're talking about, that's a good example. Again, Joy's got like Joy herself about her organization there. Bernie's House has on their website, an experience of a person from the benefit of being associated with Bernie House, which is powerful stuff, right? But take a look at those and do some homework. But I think the point is, don't not do it. The point of this today is we're saying it's important for a purpose because it'll help your business or your organization, and it makes it more real to people, and people see the benefit firsthand. Right?
Yeah, it's important to be the content gatherer for your organization, and then just keep them organized. I recommend creating a spreadsheet. So when you do a testimonial or you're at an event and you take photos, you at least have an idea that content was gathered. And that provides also a nice script and map to provide anybody if you want to do a post-production of that, like putting the story together, illustrating your message. Because there's no reason why you can't reuse and recycle what you've already done, as long as you've, taken good quality pictures. And like Larry said, most of the cell phones these days, as long as you have the settings correct, you can take really great shots, candid, because who's going to be there? It's going to be you who represents the company. Right. You just make sure to keep it organized, and either OneDrive or any other kind of media storage, create a spreadsheet. I know that maybe James can even talk to this, that with Microsoft, James had talked about this in a prior one, that with Microsoft SharePoint, when you have a list of all of the content within a folder, you can actually export that entire list in a spreadsheet. So you have all of your images, all of your content listed in a spreadsheet itself, which you could export out and provide to a media company.
Yeah, and I think to Sharon's question about this event you do, your 15th one, I guarantee you have still photos of that past events somewhere in your in your organization, right?
We are not really good at that, but yeah, there's got to be some. I know that the last time, yeah, in 2019, I did like Facebook Lives.
Yeah.
Where I was like, come look at all this great stuff. And we did have some really good stuff donated. And so I'll have to like dig up. I think those are saved somewhere in Facebook. I'm not sure.
Well, but here's my point, right?
Yeah,
so if you've got a video you're taking and like say
Mhm.
Tree Branch is helping you, they can take that video and
Mhm.
cut it up and insert photos and make, do voiceovers and make it be
Yeah.
a perfect video. And that's the kind of
Mhm.
stuff I'm talking about. You should be considering. So
Yeah. I know we have a
you-
good photo of like, I think 3 or 4 of the board members because we had just gotten professional polo shirts done and we posed for a picture. So I know I have that somewhere too.
but again, I guarantee you somewhere you have photos of
Mhm.
historical events you've done. And I'm just saying,
Mhm.
like to Jen's point, inventory that information and make sure somebody like Jen would get that and they can incorporate it and make a real slick looking testimony that I think would benefit your organization, right? So I think that's
Awesome.
important stuff. All right.
Thank you.
Other questions? Other feedback? James, again, I don't want to. You're
Yeah, and I'll
technology.
go ahead and put that link where all the other resources are of the St. Francis Potomac that gives you an idea of a church that really didn't have content for us to make except for the testimonials. They had pre-existing content that we brought in and just recycled, which actually helped reduce the cost as well because they didn't have a team out there taking pictures at certain events. They had just been gathering this. So that might help give an idea as well as to what you can do.
James, any other thoughts?
Just on the technology side, and certainly not to take away from Tree Branch Group, because I think everything Jen says is going to be fantastic. But for me, the kind of gateway, if you will, to the testimonials, there's a site I found called boast.io, and it was cool. It's like $49 a month. I mean, not expensive, and you can you can send out requests for testimonials. And people can also actually submit their video testimonials that way as well. And so you kind of got this one place, and it's real easy to actually link that into your website. But not sure, like in Sharon's case, it might fit, but maybe more for business, or if you got a large base, but because you can also put those kind of sharing links right in your emails, your email signature, in on your website somewhere, in your Facebook feeds. Again, you're only going to get the quality of somebody's iPhone or Android, but at least another way to, if you really want to get a much bigger reach at one time. But
and I think the max res on that is pretty good. It's like 1080, right? And you can download it.
Yeah, you can definitely download it. I don't remember the resolution, but
well, it might also depend on how much you pay, but ideally, if you the higher you shoot, the better. So 1080 is ideal, so that a post-production company can do a good job of putting it out there on YouTube at a higher quality.
Yeah, and I think for everybody here, so there's a little bit of a danger zone here, right? So just something to be aware of. If you don't possess the ability to do this yourself, you have to have the help to get it done. Like again, Tree Branch or whoever you deal with, right? But the point is, it needs to be a professional looking production. It's okay to take video again with a cell phone or whatever, but you want to make sure, if you don't possess the ability to really do this, and whether you do or don't, and I would say, please make sure you take that time, because they're video testimonials are too critical of a component of, I think, an overall strategy to not do it well. You got to invest the time and effort to do that correctly. And if you need to professionally pay to have that done, you should do that. I want to make that very, very clear. All right. All right. Any other questions?
So I'll just make a few comments.
Sure.
This has been really helpful, because I know one of the things, and Jen, and I know you and I even discussed this before, is just repurposing of content, right? Because I know we've got some really great, we did a whole Meet the Board series when we first started at Life of Joy, and we have never reused that. And I think we could take clips from that. We could compile it in a different way. I think, events, picture, we're really good at picture taking at Life of Joy. We have several people involved as volunteers.
Especially your daughter.
Yeah, right. And I think, we have, but making it a compilation where there's overlay of testimonials with the pictures and music. I mean, I think just the light bulb is going off of just how much content we actually have, and to have a content spreadsheet is like, that is such a golden tip. Like, I just never even thought of doing that. And I'm really excited because that's one of the first projects that we're going to give to Allison when she comes back on board with us. But I think I really appreciate the timing of this too, because we have our Life of Joy Day coming up in a few weeks. So similar to you, Sharon, how you've got, your event coming up, I think we can really maximize that by, taking whatever little footage that we put together, or having someone. We have a couple of photographers who are designated for the day, but I didn't even think about having someone designated to do video, and just to do that organic, like, walk around and get video of people and have people just prompt people in the moment. What brings you here today? Why are you supporting Life of Joy?
There you go.
And I think just working with that organic content and then having someone like Tree Branch put it together for us so it flows, I think is just a really valuable kind of plan to have. So thank you.
Yeah. It's not just, it's flowing is a great way of saying it. It's like engineering your message with all the content that you've gathered.
Yeah.
But see, I think you're wise, Joy, to take a look at that. Like you said, what brings you here today? Well, my gosh, you're going to get back golden nuggets that are the underpinning of your organization, right? They're there because why are you here? That's just a great question to ask, right? And that's something that I would be very, very active on. And I would tell you what, I would also preview whatever you're doing. Video is powerful, and don't underestimate its ability. But again, the danger zone is if you don't possess the ability to do it right, it can like blow up too. And you don't want to make your organization look not in its best light. So I'd say put the best face on that. We all have content, organize your content, like Jen said, but I think that's really, really important. Joy, spot on, with what you're thinking, right? Spot on, and Sharon too, right? So, okay. I think it's important as we move on here, like we said, augment photos into that video, do all kinds of stuff, but make it professional. I think not just videos of what you offer, but people that work. And I think Joy mentioned you got board members, you got other people interacting with the public and all that. It's good for people to see that. They kind of know it's a real live organization that you're doing stuff. And I think seeing that is a great opportunity for your organization to stand out, right? Stand out. And I guess I'll just close on the video part of this because I want to get into written as well. I would say kind of in a summary on video testimonials, right? It is and again, I looked, and I would challenge you to go look at nonprofits, and go look at businesses, and go look to see where they're doing it. And what you're going to find, the 80-20 rule lives, right? I'm going to just say it lives. I would say 20% of the people, organizations, and businesses do videos. Maybe 80% don't. And I get Jen, I'd throw that back to you and Denise I'm just pulling that one out. But what I saw from nonprofits in particular, not a lot of videos that were done, very few, but the ones that were done were good. I think it's an area to step out, stand out, show your organization, show its worth, show its value, show its why. And again, examples are few. It's an opportunity to shine. Jen?
Yeah, and you'll find that there's companies like us, Tree Branch Group, that's willing to work with nonprofits at an affordable rate. So we work with the Maryland State Child Care Center, and we have done multiple testimonials for them as well, and other organizations. So you just need to kind of see what other, if there's companies that are willing to work with you as a give back or just as a discount.
Yeah. And I would, again, sometimes I'm blunt, but I think it's important to underscore the message, right? So look at your organization And if you're not doing video testimonials, I'll just give you some homework. Do it. You're missing the boat by not. So you come to these things because you're looking at people that have been involved in doing stuff like this. And we're giving you what I think is a best practice. And if you don't utilize it, I think you're missing the boat. And I think if you know whether you're doing videos or not, and if you're not, my strong suggestion is get on the bandwagon, because it's what the people are looking for today. All right.
Yeah, and to add on to that, another thing to make sure that you look into is doing something like a YouTube channel where you can load all of these testimonials in and create a playlist, testimonials. You can do testimonial playlists based on an event or like a mission or a fundraising campaign. But YouTube is really a great source for holding those videos in place. And you can do little edits here and there, and you can also download again once you've uploaded. So if you have somebody on your team that uploads them into your YouTube channel, you can reuse that by sharing it onto your website, social media, or you can even download it again and use it for editing.
Okay. I want to switch gears really quickly. And then I'm going to pass over to Jen, because we want to talk about some of the technology part of this. But I want to switch gears and talk about written testimonials, right? And reviews and things like that. How do you get them? You ask for them, right? You ask somebody to give you a testimonial or give you a review of your business or whatever. My whole point is you want to use those like video to talk about an experience with your organization and whatever that was, or business. And again, you specifically need to ask. But moreover, what's important, you can take those and post them on your website or post them in social media, because they matter too. Again, it's someone saying something. And let's go back to the start, right? It is social proof, right? Social proof, written now, not video, but written. That's also an important component of your strategy that needs to be there. And I think you want to be able to post that in social media as well too. So you want to make sure you're there. My whole key, and I'm getting ready to throw it off to Jen here, is this. Are you set up to do that? Is your website set up to do that? Social media may be a little easier because you can post stuff, but here's the thing. Is your website set up, and is it in a visible, simple, easy to find place? Or I'll tell you, failure to me is not being able to find quickly someone saying something good about your organization. That should be center. It should be architected on the homepage. If you don't know how to do it, talk to somebody that does, like a Jen or James, all these people that know this. Get it where it needs to be and make it easy for people to see people saying good things about your organization. If it's not, if you got to hunt for it, it's a fail. It's got to be prominent. It's got to be able to be seen in an easy manner without, hide and seek. That does no good for anybody, right? So that's my thoughts on video testimony and its importance in written testimony as well too. There's a whole bunch of technology tools and techniques and production and practices. We've talked about some of them, placement, distribution, and more. And with that, Jen, I'm going to kind of throw you that. Here, get ready. You say you always like to catch it. So there's the ball. Okay. I just threw it. Okay. There you go. So over to Jen. And then we can take questions.
Well, we did a really good job of covering technology. Let me just touch base again on the placement. Websites. Google My Business is really a great source to gather the written testimonials as well. We don't want to put those down, but they're great for when people first glance at your Google My Business page to kind of see, hey, is this legit kind of thing, and then link it off to your website. Like Larry said, having video testimonials on your website are really good, especially for a nonprofit when people aren't really sure like what you're standing for and if you're new. So technology wise, YouTube again is a great source to just kind of storehouse them. You can also use Vimeo. If you put them on YouTube, I suggest doing a playlist and making sure that your YouTube is set up. So you've got like a nice banner, you've got your logo set up, you even have like a place to make donations set up prominently, and that you've established a hashtag as well, so that you're continuing to be visible with that video and with that message. As for technology, honestly, a cell phone, just making sure that it's a more modern model of a cell phone and that you have your resolution set appropriately. The higher, the better. You may need another additional SD card, or mini, micro SD card to put into your cell phone, just in case you don't have enough memory on your cell phone. But I would definitely consider things like making sure you use a tripod. Lighting is also important. The last thing you want to do is grab that great moment and it's pixelated because the lighting is low or you're moving around, that kind of thing. But for editing the videos, there's a lot of good software out there that you could use. We actually use Adobe Rush, which is a paid, but there's other free video. The only problem is you have to be careful of is free is not necessarily free. I typically like to think that anything's free, you are actually the product. So there will be a logo, there will be some sort of fine print that includes their information, the company's information that helps them advertise. So you just have to be aware of that. I mean, one of the most common ones is like StreamYard. There's lots of StreamYards out there, and you see the duck, and you remember the duck. Unfortunately, if you are trying to brand yourself, you don't want to brand the duck, you want to brand your nonprofit. So just things like that. Sorry, StreamYard, I don't mean any offense. It's an awesome program. But something to think about is just making sure that there isn't a hidden logo somewhere. We did have one client that did some video stuff themselves, and they gave it to us to push out on Facebook, and there was a giant like watermark across the entire video. So we kind of wound up having to redo it for them. But another great, people may not realize this, but PowerPoint, you can actually make little video clips in PowerPoint. If you can use the slides, set up the slides, and then export it back out, even with like sound or voiceover, just for like a quick thing. So, if anybody has any questions, technology-wise, I'm going to open the floor for Larry and I to just open up a discussion because we have about 10 minutes left.
So questions, anybody? It's okay if you don't, but if you got some, we're here to answer.
So I wanted to add, when you have testimonials, keep the date off. A lot of times you go in, you see a website, you see, somebody says something really, really great about the organization, and then it's 2012 or 2015 or something.
That's an excellent tip.
Yeah, and to me, a website especially is a living, breathing organism that should be updated, and it's alive. And then when you have testimonials that are way back, years old, you think, are they doing anything? It's almost like when you go on Facebook and you see the old posts, 2016, like they haven't been on Facebook for 4 years, 5 years. Are they dead?
Yeah.
So, it's good to keep that fresh. And a second thing I want to say, and it's good to use a professional like Jen and James, I have a video editing program. It took days to figure out how to use it. It's a free version, so that tells you everything. So I have videos of members and doing the editing and all that stuff, and it has been a nightmare to do that. So don't do it.
Well, free is not always free, as Jen said, right? And sometimes, let's remember, you get what you pay for, right? And I think it's important to think about that. So I appreciate that, Liz. Thank you.
Sure.
I definitely would not have anybody do my taxes or my accounting. It would take me maybe at least a year. So I would rather pay to have somebody else do it.
Yeah, I don't know how to do plumbing or electricity, right? So that's why these people exist, right? I don't know how to do my technology. That's why James exists, right? So there you go, right? All right. Any other questions? All right. Going
I guess we
once,
covered
twice. Any other questions? Any other comments?
And
You're
I'll just,
so brilliant, Larry.
yeah, yeah.
We're talking about the board, and this is a whole separate topic. And I love what it was, the Joy that said meet the board. I love that. I think that's great. What tactics or strategies, you said that every board member should have some homework
Yeah.
to do. So who is driving that?
Is that question to me? Okay, yeah. So for example, you as the head of the chamber, right? You have multiple events coming up, right? Now, you could be the person there, but you've got a vice president, you've got other officers on the board that could help you divide and conquer the labor, right? So you obviously doing the parade, but maybe somebody else doing something on talking about your upcoming seminars or your upcoming whatever to talk about it, right? So that they have an assignment of some sort that could be a video assignment. I want you to talk about this, or I want you to support Restaurant Week, right? Or I want you to talk about this, like, for example, I know this for a fact, like Diana Lancioni, owner of the Suburban Park Voice, is on your board. Well, she's well known in the community. Here's this stuff we're talking about, a recognized person. Maybe utilize her to do something, to promote something to help, right? So the burden of that is not always on you or on Joy or Sharon to the organization, or April when you're trying to do the work. That's all. So think about that and lay it out and assign and say, here's what I'd like you to do. And I think it's okay, because I know a lot of the chamber board members, I love them, but a lot of the work falls to you, Liz, and I think it's important to share that. And maybe there's somebody in the community even, right, that you get, like an Eddie Conway, as an example, would be a perfect guy to do something on behalf of the chamber. I think it represents you well by having things like that. So maybe Eddie's, it's Restaurant Week and I get it, but maybe, or Don Kelly, I'm happy to be a part of this and we really love the chamber, and come out and support all the businesses, might be powerful from those businesses themselves. That's what I'm talking about. That's the homework I'm talking about. Make sense?
Yeah, good, very good.
Joy, anything there to add, or Sharon? Like,
Yeah,
you
no,
get out.
I mean, it's been an interesting journey for me to learn in terms of working with board members, because, some of them truly are only going to serve an advisory role, right? They're not going to roll up their sleeves and do the dirty work, because they just don't have the bandwidth. So then I think it's just getting clear on, but they may not be able to do the dirty work, but they should have connections. They should be able to bring in, connections that can help do the dirty work, so to speak, or maybe they can sponsor a service like hiring a tree branch to help with video. You know what I mean? I think I'm learning myself, about the different ways of working with the board members and the different levels of their engagement. So I think that that's just something kind of across the board as nonprofits or chambers or, whatever, that we need to kind of learn how to work with. So.
Agree.
Yeah.
But you don't know unless you ask, right? And you
Yeah.
know the strength of your board members. And I would say when you're recruiting board members, and I know this was happening at the Bernie House, you want to look for those people that have some impact, but you want doers, not just sitters, right? You want action-oriented people that are going to help, right? Give boards are very, very in vogue, right? When it comes to raising funds, for example, right? Either in some boards, and I've been on them, you go get this amount of money, or you need to give that amount of money, right? So it's like the give boards are there. But again, I think just homework assignments, it doesn't have to be hard work, right? I think it's important that you look at that. So my 2 cents. All right. Any other questions? Comments?
Great job.
If not, thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
I'd like to close it and then I'll throw it to Jen for whatever final word she has. But I would tell you this, incorporating video testimonial and written testimonials into your organizations. I'm going to give you a keyword. Get your pencils ready. I want you to write this down. It's going to help you, right? There's one way to make a difference, right? And here it is. Are you ready? Pencils up. ACT. A-C-T. If you walk away from this today and do nothing with this information, it'll be a lost hour of your day. I'm telling you, I think there was enough here to hear about that your organization needs to take some action if you don't do these things. And if you get stuck or don't know, Jen Triplett is right here. I'm right here. James is here. We're all here to help. But if you don't act, that's a misfire on your part. And I think if you don't have videos, act. Jen, final words.
So I would just like to add on to that. Sometimes it's hard to act if you're not organized and you haven't planned it out. So if you know there are events coming up, you know that there are certain fundraising things that you need to do or that you're going to be on site to do or virtual to do, create a calendar. You probably already have a calendar for those events. Create a prep calendar where you're going to reach out to individuals to say, hey, I want to get some testimonials. Just kind of make deadlines for yourself and put that on the calendar itself. That really will help the whole time management piece of it. Because if you just kind of do it on the fly, it may never happen. You may just put it off because something else comes up. And even if you need to assign that task to somebody else, just have it on the calendar so that it's planned out. And like Larry said, it's not just going and being there and getting the testimonials. It's also thinking about what message are you trying to capture to tell and illustrate your entire story. And if anybody wants to know more about, if you have Microsoft Teams, how to create the inventory spreadsheet, just reach out to me at jen@treebranchgroup.com. It's 2 N's, Jen. And I'd be more than willing to kind of help you out in that area. So
2
with
N's,
that,
1 P, and 2 T's. How am I
yes,
doing? Awesome.
2 N's, 1 P, and 2 T.
There you go. Jen Triplett. Anyway. All right, y'all. Well, this was intended to help.